What if your deepest wound didn't come from a stranger, but from someone whose hand you held in childhood? Someone you shared laughter, tears, and a home with. Someone who should have been your first protector, not your quiet poison. From birth, we're fed the comforting lie that family bonds are unbreakable, thicker than water. But what happens when that promise shatters into betrayal, leaving silent scars you carry alone, too ashamed to even whisper about? Stoicism offers us powerful clarity here, not bitterness or revenge, but an unflinching gaze into truth. Epictetus wisely taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And sometimes the strongest, healthiest reaction isn't forgiveness, but distance. In this video, we'll bravely uncover 7 betrayals from siblings you should never tolerate, not because you're cold-hearted, but because you finally learned to protect your peace, dignity, and self-worth. These aren't mere mistakes. They're dangerous patterns capable of shaping your whole life unless you face them head-on. Hit subscribe and join me. Let's stop the bleeding and start living. 1. Undermining you behind closed doors. Sometimes betrayal isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, sneaky, and hidden behind smiles. One of the most painful betrayals from a sibling can happen in subtle ways behind closed doors. It's when your brother or sister appears supportive in your presence, but undermines you secretly when you're absent. They nod enthusiastically when you discuss your dreams and goals, even offer words of encouragement, only to later plant seeds of doubt among the people you care about the most. They might casually distort your actions, twist your words, or diminish your accomplishments. Gradually, these subtle manipulations influence the perceptions of your parents, close relatives, or mutual friends, casting you in a negative light that you never intended or deserved. Imagine Sarah, who always worked diligently to earn her mother's respect. Sarah supported her family emotionally and financially, pouring herself into her responsibilities with the hope of building a stronger bond. Despite her best efforts, she felt an unspoken tension growing between her and her mother. It puzzled her, leaving her feeling isolated and confused. Eventually, Sarah discovered something deeply unsettling. Her older sister, whom she trusted completely, had quietly been suggesting to their mother that Sarah was self-centered and unreliable. Her sister had painted Sarah's achievements as attempts to overshadow her, framing genuine gestures of support as calculated moves to gain favor. Suddenly, the strange distance and growing mistrust made painful sense. Sarah felt a sharp pang of betrayal. It was a wound deeper than any she had ever experienced, precisely because it came from someone she had trusted implicitly. The impact of this kind of betrayal is profoundly destructive because it erodes the very foundation of family trust. From childhood, we're taught that family is an unwavering refuge, that siblings stand side by side against external threats. Yet here is a situation where the threat is internal, and the danger lies in invisible manipulations and whispered half-truths. This betrayal doesn't just harm relationships, it damages self-esteem, leading to deep-rooted insecurities and self-doubt. Victims of such covert betrayal often spend years questioning their own judgment, feeling isolated within their own families. But Stoicism offers profound wisdom here. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we cannot control others' actions or words, we have complete control over our reactions and judgments. Sarah learned to apply this wisdom by calmly confronting reality. Instead of spiraling into bitterness or anger, she chose clarity and strength. She understood that silence or passive acceptance in the face of betrayal wasn't noble, it was self-destructive. True peace comes from confronting the truth and setting clear boundaries, even if that means distancing oneself from a family member. Sarah calmly, but firmly spoke her truth to her mother and sister, clearly stating the harm done. While the relationship with her sister changed, Sarah felt immediate relief because she reclaimed her narrative, dignity, and peace. The essential lesson here is powerful. Trust isn't guaranteed by blood. It must be consistently earned through genuine actions. Protecting yourself and your emotional well-being isn't selfish, it's necessary. Forgiveness can occur without reopening doors to further harm. In fact, closure sometimes means having the strength to shut a door not in anger, but in self-respect and love for yourself. The Stoic approach empowers us to respond with reason rather than emotion, allowing us to navigate betrayal without compromising our own mental and emotional health. 2. Sabotaging your success. Success within a family should feel like shared triumph, a joyous celebration where each member finds inspiration and pride. But what happens when your victory triggers envy instead of joy? When your achievements become a mirror reflecting a sibling's insecurities rather than a reason for collective pride? It creates one of the most profound and subtle betrayals. This betrayal does not often announce itself loudly or boldly. It hides beneath jokes, sarcasm, and carefully masked criticism. Comments like, "You're just in the right place at the right time," or "You're not who you used to be," are subtle but sharp, hinting at underlying resentment and insecurity. The pain lies in recognizing that someone who should be cheering you on is secretly competing, undermining your confidence to soothe their own fears. Consider Michael, who had always dreamed of writing a book. After years of late-night writing and relentless dedication, he finally published his first novel. His family celebrated his achievement warmly, yet he noticed his brother, Eric, offered only reserved praise, laced with veiled skepticism. Later, Michael learned from mutual friends that Eric had mocked his effort behind his back, suggesting Michael's success was undeserved, just a stroke of luck. This revelation hurt deeply not simply because of the words, but because it highlighted the profound insecurity Eric felt about his own lack of direction. Michael's success was an uncomfortable reminder to Eric of his own unfulfilled potential, turning what should have been a shared joy into a source of resentment. Stoic philosophy provides a powerful lens through which to view such betrayals. Epictetus taught that we should only concern ourselves with what we can control, our responses and our choices, not the reactions and emotions of others. Applying this wisdom, Michael chose not to confront Eric aggressively, nor did he internalize his brother's bitterness. Instead, he remained empathetic yet firm, recognizing Eric's criticism as a reflection of his own struggles, rather than a true judgment of Michael's worth or accomplishment. The crucial lesson is clear. Your progress and accomplishments need no apology or concealment. Authentic love and support means celebrating victories openly and genuinely. If someone close cannot handle your success without feeling diminished themselves, their presence might be hindering your continued growth. Stoicism reminds us that our self-worth should never hinge upon others' insecurities or judgments. Move forward proudly, knowing that genuine relationships celebrate your growth without conditions or resentment. Your journey to success is uniquely yours, and you never need to shrink to accommodate another's inability to rise. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. 3. Using shared history as leverage. Shared childhood memories are uniquely precious. They hold moments of laughter, comfort, and trust, shaping the foundation of sibling bonds. Yet, one of the deepest betrayals arises when these cherished memories become weapons. A sibling might use your shared past as emotional leverage, bringing up old mistakes or secrets to undermine your present strength and independence. Instead of recalling these memories with warmth, they wield them strategically, reinforcing feelings of guilt or obligation. You may find yourself hesitating, feeling trapped between who you once were and the person you've become. This manipulation feels uniquely painful because it comes from someone who was supposed to stand by your side, not pull you backward. Consider someone who continually reminds you of past vulnerabilities, framing them as jokes or casual comments. But you recognize the subtle edge, intended to remind you of your past mistakes or weaknesses. This tactic keeps you emotionally bound, making it harder for you to assert boundaries or pursue growth freely. Psychologically, this form of betrayal is rooted deeply in insecurity and fear. The sibling employing this tactic often struggles internally with their own stagnation or lack of control. Unable to manage their insecurities healthfully, they project these feelings onto you, using the past as a convenient tool to reclaim power and influence. Stoicism provides profound insight for navigating this painful dynamic. The philosophy emphasizes the impermanence of self and encourages continuous personal growth. According to Stoic teachings, clinging to past versions of ourselves or allowing others to chain us to outdated identities is a direct path to unhappiness. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, our life is defined by the thoughts we harbor. Thus, we must consciously refuse to be confined by historical mistakes or outdated images others project onto us. Embracing this mindset liberates you from emotional blackmail, reaffirming your right to evolve beyond old versions of yourself. To break free, acknowledge that your past does not have the power to define your present or dictate your future. Set clear emotional boundaries by refusing to engage with conversations intended solely for control or humiliation. Communicate firmly but calmly that who you once were is not who you are today, and that growth is not only your right, but your responsibility. Realizing your siblings' manipulations are reflections of their own insecurities, rather than truthful assessments of your worth, provides the emotional detachment necessary to reclaim control. Ultimately, anyone who manipulates your past to restrict your present does not deserve a role in shaping your future. Your journey forward should be guided by personal growth, resilience, and self-respect, not guilt or obligation to outdated narratives. 4. Publicly humiliating you. Public humiliation by a sibling represents a betrayal that isn't hidden away quietly. It's boldly executed in front of others, cloaked as harmless humor or innocent teasing. This betrayal is especially damaging because it teaches everyone watching exactly how you can be disrespected. A sibling who publicly embarrasses you takes the most personal, private aspects of your life, your failures, insecurities, or secret fears, and serves them up as entertainment for others. This type of betrayal undermines your dignity, leveraging your vulnerability to gain laughs or approval. The perpetrator expects you to smile along, reinforcing their narrative that their actions are acceptable, leaving you feeling trapped and silenced. I recall a family reunion where I personally experienced this betrayal. My older sister jokingly revealed to relatives a deeply personal struggle I'd confided in her during a moment of weakness. The room erupted in laughter, oblivious to my discomfort, while she appeared triumphant, basking in the attention. I felt humiliated and betrayed, deeply hurt by her willingness to trade my dignity for momentary popularity. Later, when confronted privately, she dismissed my hurt as oversensitivity, insisting it was all in good fun. But the truth was, it wasn't harmless humor. It was a deliberate attempt to diminish me publicly, masked by laughter. Understanding this betrayal through the lens of Stoic philosophy provided clarity and strength. Epictetus wisely teaches us that it's not external events that harm us, but our perception of them. Applying Stoicism, I realized the humiliation my sister attempted to inflict did not reflect my worth. It only revealed her own insecurity and need for validation. Her actions were a symptom of her emotional struggles rather than a measure of my character. Recognizing this allowed me to detach emotionally from her actions, viewing them objectively rather than as personal wounds. Stoicism encourages us to focus on our own reactions and boundaries, rather than seeking validation from those who mistreat us. It's vital to establish firm boundaries, clearly communicating that public humiliation is unacceptable regardless of intent. Forgiveness doesn't imply acceptance or continued exposure to disrespect. You have every right to protect yourself emotionally, even if that means limiting interactions with a sibling who repeatedly breaches your trust. Ultimately, healthy relationships, including familial bonds, must be grounded in respect and kindness. No one, including family, has the right to use your vulnerability against you. You deserve relationships that uplift and honor you, and sometimes protecting yourself means stepping away from those who refuse to respect this fundamental boundary. 5. Emotional absence. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't strike through harsh words or overt actions. It arrives in the painful silence of emotional absence. This silence cuts deeper precisely because it comes from someone you trusted implicitly, someone you assumed would be present during your darkest times. The absence of a sibling during life's hardships is not just disappointing, it's profoundly isolating. It sends the message that your struggles, your pain, are insignificant or invisible to those you assumed cared the most. The silence fills the space where empathy and support should be, leaving a void that's louder than any spoken insult. I recall a particularly challenging period in my life when I lost a close friend unexpectedly. The grief was overwhelming, and while many reached out to offer comfort, my sibling remained notably absent. There were no calls, no messages, no gentle inquiries into how I was coping. Months later, when I finally asked about their absence, their casual dismissal of my pain was almost as hurtful as the initial silence. It wasn't anger or cruelty. It was something even harder to process: indifference. This emotional detachment was particularly painful because it undermined a foundational belief I had always carried, that family was an unwavering source of support. This betrayal of silence is subtle, yet profound, causing lasting emotional scars. Psychologically, it reveals a fundamental disconnect or inability in the sibling to engage emotionally, often stemming from their own fears or discomfort around vulnerability. While it may seem passive, this absence actively communicates a lack of empathy and understanding, which can significantly damage the bond between siblings. Stoic philosophy provides valuable guidance for navigating this form of betrayal. The philosopher Seneca wisely said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," reminding us that our emotional well-being shouldn't depend entirely on the actions or inactions of others. Stoicism teaches the importance of focusing on what we can control, our own responses and emotional resilience. This perspective doesn't diminish the hurt, but it empowers us to seek strength internally, rather than continually waiting for external validation or support that may never come. The lesson here is clear and powerful. While you cannot control who shows up for you during challenging times, you can control how you respond to their absence. Do not waste your energy attempting to elicit care from someone who, for whatever reason, cannot or will not give it. Invest instead in those who demonstrate consistent emotional presence. These are the individuals deserving of your trust and emotional investment. Ultimately, acknowledging and accepting the limitations of others frees you to nurture relationships that truly enrich your life, offering the genuine support and understanding you deserve. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. 6. Forcing you into family roles that do not serve you. Betrayal can often appear quietly, hidden behind the weight of family roles and unspoken expectations. Many siblings unintentionally reinforce roles within the family dynamic that you neither chose nor agreed to, silently pressuring you into positions that drain your energy, stifle your growth, and restrict your individuality. Perhaps you've been cast as the peacekeeper, the eternal caregiver, or the one always expected to resolve conflicts. These roles, assigned without your consent, can silently chip away at your sense of self until you feel trapped and suffocated by obligations that never truly belong to you. Consider the story of Emma, who, from a young age, was positioned as the family mediator. Whenever tensions rose, she was expected to step in, soothe emotions, and restore harmony, even at her own expense. Over the years, this expectation grew heavier, causing immense emotional stress. Emma began to realize the enormous cost. Her own mental and emotional health deteriorated as she constantly prioritized everyone else's needs. Eventually, she decided to set boundaries, explaining that she could no longer shoulder the constant emotional burden. Instead of understanding, her siblings responded with accusations, labeling her selfish for stepping away from a role she never willingly chose. This harsh reaction made Emma see clearly that their definition of family loyalty was rooted in convenience and entitlement rather than genuine love and care. This form of betrayal is deeply psychological. It reveals the family member's unwillingness to adapt, evolve, or assume responsibility. The siblings resisting change are often frightened by the shift in dynamics because it forces them to confront their own contributions to the family's difficulties. They project their discomfort onto the individual attempting to break free, rather than addressing the underlying issues themselves. Stoicism offers a powerful perspective in navigating these familial traps. Epictetus emphasized that we should focus on what we can control, our reactions and our choices, and release what we cannot, such as others' perceptions or demands. By embracing Stoic philosophy, Emma recognized her inherent right to define her own role and live according to her values and well-being, rather than constantly sacrificing herself to meet unspoken expectations. The key takeaway is straightforward yet transformative. Family roles should be chosen, not imposed. Choosing to step away from draining expectations does not signify disloyalty. Instead, it shows self-respect and authenticity. You do not need to bear the weight of obligations that undermine your happiness or mental health. Establishing clear boundaries and advocating for yourself might initially provoke resistance, but ultimately, it leads to healthier, more respectful relationships rooted in genuine understanding rather than silent obligation. 7. Competing for parental favor at your expense. In some families, there's an invisible battle for parental approval that quietly unfolds behind the scenes, driven not by love, but by a deep-seated need for validation. This rivalry can manifest subtly, disguised as sibling success, kindness, or confidence. However, beneath these appearances lies a strategic competition where your sibling might position themselves favorably by highlighting your shortcomings, often at moments carefully chosen to ensure maximum impact. They share their own successes right after mentioning your past struggles or flaws, crafting an image of themselves as the reliable, deserving child, while simultaneously casting a shadow over your character. This form of betrayal is uniquely painful because it affects your relationships with your parents, causing them to see you not as you truly are, but through a distorted lens crafted by your sibling. You begin feeling trapped, constantly needing to justify or explain yourself, forever measured against an unrealistic standard set by someone who is manipulating perceptions for personal gain. Consider the well-documented relationship between the Kennedy brothers, John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. While history celebrates their unity, deeper examinations reveal complexities, pressures, and subtle rivalries fostered by familial expectations. Though both brothers achieved remarkable success, there was an underlying competition, carefully managed yet intensely felt. John's charisma and political ascension created an environment where Robert often felt overshadowed, inadvertently compelling him to consistently prove his worth. Yet, rather than directly undermining each other, This rivalry took form through indirect pressures, carefully managed appearances, and subtle shifts in family expectations and favoritism. Such dynamics, though subtle, left both men carrying the weight of familial expectations, influencing their decisions and self-perceptions throughout their lives. The psychological root of such sibling rivalries lies in deep-seated insecurity and fear, the fear of not being enough, of being overlooked, or being loved less. Siblings who engage in these dynamics often operate from a place of emotional scarcity, mistakenly believing that parental affection is limited, necessitating competition rather than cooperation. This mindset breeds ongoing resentment and prevents genuine emotional closeness, replacing healthy familial bonds with transactional relationships. Stoic philosophy offers profound insights into this type of familial betrayal. Marcus Aurelius wisely suggested that peace is found in truth, not approval. True Stoicism involves recognizing the futility and destructiveness of seeking external validation, especially when it comes at the expense of your own authenticity and self-respect. Applying Stoic principles, you learn to detach your self-worth from others' perceptions or judgments, especially those manipulated or distorted by someone else's agenda. The solution lies in embracing the Stoic practice of living authentically and truthfully. Instead of competing for parental approval, define yourself by your own standards and integrity. Allow your actions and genuine character to stand as the true measure of your worth. Communicate clearly and assertively with your family, setting boundaries against attempts to diminish or misrepresent you. Establishing these boundaries does not mean you love your family less. It means you respect yourself enough to demand authenticity and fairness in your relationships. The critical takeaway here is that love and acceptance should never be a competition. Family bonds thrive on mutual respect, authenticity, and sincere care, not manipulative comparisons or strategic presentations. Recognize and clearly see through such behaviors, knowing you are not required to participate in a competition that undermines your dignity. Focus instead on cultivating a truthful, self-defined sense of worth. By doing so, you maintain your inner peace and create the possibility for healthier family relationships grounded in respect and genuine connection. These 7 betrayals are not simply painful, they're deeply personal, reshaping your understanding of family, trust, and even yourself. When the hurt comes from your sibling, someone who is meant to stand beside you, it leaves scars that are difficult to explain and harder still to heal. But Stoic wisdom reminds us clearly, the bonds we were born into don't determine the boundaries we must set today. You don't owe your peace to anyone who repeatedly undermines, humiliates, or holds you back under the disguise of family loyalty. It's time to ask yourself honestly, how long will you allow shared history to overshadow your present peace? Choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's courage. It's reclaiming your dignity from those who assumed you would endure endlessly. Right now, you hold the power to rewrite the terms of your relationships, to insist on respect, and to step away from the table if love is no longer being served. If today's message resonated deeply with you, if you felt the weight of these quiet betrayals, subscribe to the channel. Join a community committed to clarity, strength, and authentic growth. Together, let's build lives defined not by obligation, but by genuine connection and lasting peace. Because you deserve nothing less.